Do do do, theme song. Do do do, I'm broke so this is my theme song. Do do do, just imagine this is an awesome theme song. Do do, theme song. Left of the box. Hello, welcome to Left of the Box. Bonjour, bienvenue. I'm Sandy. Okay, so that reveal wasn't quite as smooth as I was hoping. Hi. I decided to get all dressed up for this New Year's Eve. I have a great bunch of friends, and I can go to a party dressed like this, and they'll respond by saying, cool. I love having friends that you can really just kind of go all nuts and express yourself with. I got this shirt at the Pirate Festival. It's one of a kind, so it's rather nice. It has a super huge hoodie on it. Yeah, like this can cover my full face, so. So then you can do the reveal again. Maybe a little bit more smoothly that time. And it has like the nice bell sleeves. I really like the bell sleeves. There we go. Anyway, how's everyone doing on this last day of the year 2023? You know, this past year has felt like an entire lifetime with everything going on. Well, let's check the sandbox, see who's already popped in here. So we have Monope, Looney Tunes, Nina Canadian, Bird Worldless. I don't know if I've seen your username before, so welcome. Brandy Nuance. I don't think I've seen your name before, so welcome. I'm also really horrible with names, so you could be like a regular chatter and I might just forget it. Well, welcome, everyone. I do have actual news to go over today, but I hope this outfit isn't going to make it too distracting. I've also fiddled with some of the audio settings a little bit, so you'll have to let me know if it sounds too weird. Basically, the main mic's been too quiet, so I've moved it kind of closer to me. Just if I do this, there we go. So I've moved the mic closer to me and I've upped the gain. You see, I'm trying to find this balance of being able to talk normally and everyone hearing me, but without it spiking. When I get into like really emotional states and I start speaking like really loudly and stuff, and then it would like go into the red and you wouldn't even hear what I'm saying. So I have to try to find that balance in between. I'm working on it. Plus, I actually listened to part of my previous couple of live streams and last live streams and realized that the computer audio is a lot louder than my audio, and I don't like an imbalance like that. I like it to be a little bit more smooth. So we'll see. We'll see. Oh, BKK, welcome. Got a good showing for this last day of the year, but yeah, I have a party to go to. Well, party, get together, shindig, whatever you want to call it, later on tonight. Which means I can't touch my face for like the next, let's see, 4 to 12, for a really long time. I'll have to touch up my makeup in between. And I don't know if I'll be able to keep this part on. I'm just kind of experimenting with it. It's an actual just necklace. So. but we can call this a party in the sandbox, huh? We'll have a party in the sandbox while we're doing this. Do you think it would be too weird for me covering like semi-serious news with this on? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the sandbox. If this is a little bit too distracting for regular news. And then we'll see. I got a variety of actual like news stories to go over. How's my audio, everyone? Is it doing okay? Hello, Tyler Hackner, and Happy New Year's to you too. Let's see, is my audio okay? Sounds good. Sounds okay. Okay. Yeah. I'll find out afterwards. Unfortunately, I can't. I slacked off, and so I didn't have time to test the system or anything before this started. Like I started a bit later than I had hoped, and all that sort of stuff, because I was busy watching Star Trek Next Generation. One of those mornings, afternoons, days. Uh, so hard to get going. Well, let's see. Let me just check some of these new stuff. Like, I'll be doing another live stream in a couple days, and I can even do one sooner, just to get caught up on some of the new stuff. So I don't know if I want to get into like the heavy stuff. Well, I'm just like this. You know, talking about encampments being destroyed and things of that sort. But let me just check to see if I actually have a decent enough, like, ones that I don't feel like I'll look very strange on doing the news with this outfit. I don't want to talk about that. Okay, we can talk about this and maybe this. Okay, okay. So we got a couple things I'm looking at where this won't look too bizarre. Okay, well, it'll look too bizarre no matter what. Okay, I think I have a couple things that I don't feel too strange going over in this outfit. Mm, got And let me know if you like the hood up or down for this. Because I can just wear it like this too. I don't know, kind of mysterious. Like this. What do you guys think? Who says you can't look sexy while entirely fully clothed? And then do the eye thing? Yeah. Yes, I'm flirting with all of you right now. Oops, that's the shot that I want. We'll get to that news article that just briefly popped up on the screen because I think that's a good, it's a kind of, well, not a good news story, but it's a positive thing that, again, the Canadian courts tend to do, which I'm happy about. Da, 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 da. Let's see. Nope, today's my first day in months using my KRK motions and subwoofer. I'm sure you would sound great on my phone, but I'm having a good audio day. Cool. Brandy Nuance, I can handle serious, but if you don't want to talk about it, I think it will be, even like the light stories tend to cover like serious topics, so we'll see how it goes. Somebody likes the hood up. uh, Monope again, honestly, if you haven't mentioned you were wearing a super fun outfit, I would think that's just a cool outfit, unless you hid your face the entire time. But I don't know if I'd question it, lol. BKK, Happy New Year's Eve all. Be safe if you're going out. I don't know, we can try a little bit of this and a little bit of that. A little bit of hood on, a little bit of hood off. Because there's something, I don't know, a little... maybe a little bit more forehead showing. There we go. I call this look too. Let's go up to this makeup combination. I actually call it the Majority Report look because it's red, black, and white, which I actually think I knock out of the park. Yeah, the Majority Report look. Red, black, and white. I don't think everyone can pull it off, but I think I can pull it off. Ugh. And I say that because that's the main colors of their logo, which I'm not drinking out of their travel mug right now. I'm going out later, so I might need it for that. Let's see. Okay. So we'll skip over the ones about the encampment. Well, let's get into some Doug Ford stuff. How about that? So Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, who got into full control and power of this province with only 18% of possible votes, 18%, has done some really bizarre things. As in, he wants to buy people's votes, and he does it in ways where he doesn't actually think ahead as to what the consequences of these actions will be. He's just more in the immediate, right now, I want people to like me, so I'm going to do these things, which seem a lot of people might think is a good idea, but it's actually not. And one of those things was he scrapped the license plate registration fee. So, like most places, I imagine like most places in Ontario, every 1 to 2 years you'd have to go into the licensing place where you can go get your driver's license and stuff and renew your driver's license. And you get a little sticker and you put that little sticker on your car, and it costs a lot, like $100 per year or something like that. And as somebody living with poverty, that's a lot of money. But at the same time, that gave the province a lot of money to work with. And, you know, I have mixed feelings about it. Like, I wish there was a tier system so that if you're somebody like me, living with disabilities, living on ODSP, Ontario Disability Support, that they would waive the fee. But for people who can actually afford it, keep it on. Because it's something that people had already budgeted for years and years and years. It was a planned expense. People knew it was going on. So to remove it was not necessarily a good call because it's not like it was a new thing, and eventually it might have to be reinstated depending on, you know, because the province is losing billions, trillions, gazillion dollars because of it, and money that is desperately needed for our underfunded healthcare system and other government services. But Doug Ford was more focused on buying people's votes. And so for a lot of people, including me, we got a check in the mail reimbursing us for the past year or two of our licensing fee that we had to pay, which, yeah, in my situation was helpful. But then there's other consequences. So not only does the province then lose out on that money that it was, you know, guaranteed every year, there's other little things that he just never thought of. Because now that people don't have to go in and pay for it, people tend to forget you still need to register your license. So you still need to go in. You don't even get a sticker anymore, which is really confusing. So you don't even get the sticker, but you still need to go in. So if you're pulled over by the police, you know, your car is still registered to you currently type thing. And this is what it has kind of led to. Oh, let's make this bigger. Two years after the Ford government scrapped the license plate registration fee, and police in Ontario say they are dealing with an overwhelming number of unregistered license plates as drivers forget to regularly renew. Yeah, that is a problem. Let's go to the Global News article here. Oops, you didn't see that. And we don't need to listen to that. Unregistered license plate spike after renewal fees eliminated. Police say they are dealing with an overwhelming number of unregistered license plates in Ontario as drivers forget to regularly renew. It is close to 2 years since the Ford government announced it would scrap the fee to renew license plates in Ontario, a promise unveiled moments before the last provincial election. Yeah, so literally he was buying people's votes. This was right before the provincial election, and he's like, do you know what people would really want right now? $100 to $200 or so. Yeah, so he just flat out bought people's votes. And like I said, only 18% of possible voters voted him in, and he's in power again, and it really, really sucks. The cost to renew the license sticker, previously set at $120 for a year in southern Ontario, with the decision to scrap the fee costing the province around $1.1 billion a year. So I was close with like a quadrillion. The change came into effect March 2022. While the Ontario government cut the fee, it did not eliminate the requirement to renew the license plate itself. Without the financial reminder, some appear to be forgetting they still need to regularly update their plates. The number of expired plates is overwhelming, literally hundreds per shift in many cases. Ontario Police Sergeant Kerry Schmidt told Global News. He explained the OPPs, that's the Ontario Provincial Police. 1,400 cruisers have license plate readers that can scan as many as 1 million plates per day to check for outstanding issues associated with the car. Wow, okay, I didn't know that. That's a lot. That is a lot of monitoring there. That 1,400 cruisers can scan as many as 1 million plates a day. Wow. Those readers can also flag expired plates. This can be overwhelming for officers and impossible to keep up with, Smith said. Data shared with Global News by the Ministry of Transportation shows the number of expired plates has risen since the decision to scrap renewal fees. In 2021, the year before Ontario eliminated the license plate fee, there were over almost 400,000 unregistered plates. The next year, that number more than doubled to over 800,000 in 2022. The province dropped the renewal when the province dropped the renewal fees. As of June 2023, there's close to 600,000 expired license plates in Ontario. This is still the law for vehicle owners to renew their license plate every 1 or 2 years at no cost to confirm their automobile insurance is valid and pay any defaulted fees, fines, or tolls. A spokesperson for the Ministry of Transportation told the News Network. Expired license plates will remain subject to reinforcement action. Despite the increase in unregistered license plates, the vast majority of drivers are still up to date. The total number of active license plates in the province set at 13.6 million, blah, blah, blah. Part of that is there's a lot of people who did the 2-year plan when this started, so they're not up for renewal right now. They'd be up for renewal next year, according to when they scrap this. And so there could be another huge spike next year as people who haven't renewed it for the past couple of years completely forget that they're supposed to do it. You see, I didn't know, so I actually went in to find out I'm good until next year. Let's see, does this actually say what the consequences are? I think it's probably just one of those things. It's an add-on crime, so if you do something like go through a stop sign, cause an accident, not signal, all that sort of stuff, it's then added on top of whatever they find you guilty of. I don't think they're going to be pulling over everyone with expired license plates, but it is something that they can charge you for should they pull you over and find it. If you go through a driver check, what are they called? The things where they're checking you to see if you've been drinking, you might then get into trouble. So it is I could have told you this would happen. So the province is now out over $1 billion, and we have hundreds of thousands of people on the road with expired license plates. It's a mess. But Doug Ford wasn't interested in, solving a problem. He was just interested in buying people's votes at that exact moment. Well, hello to everyone who's popped in here right now. I get distracted with all this chat going by the sandbox. BKK, the eyeliner is top notch, Sandy. Very impressive. Why, thank you. And yet there's people all the time that tell me how much my makeup sucks. But you know what? I like it bold like this. Somebody was saying that the yellow was just gross in the other video. And I'm like, do you know what? The yellow makes my eyes pop. Let's see. Lots of people. Oh, hello, MIDI doctors. Why, thank you. I just wanted to have fun. I'm going out to a party later on, and I wanted to dress all snazzy for it for no real reason. Most of the people there will be dressed in your regular jeans and shirts and stuff of that sort, but they also won't bat an eye at me dressing like this. I love having theater friends. Hello, my dogs are goth. Okay, well, let's get on to some like kind of related news to this. And so, speaking of like those drive checks that people go through, more than 10,000 impaired driving charges laid in Ontario this year. In a video shared to X, formerly Twitter, Wednesday, OPP Sergeant Kelly Schmidt detailed impaired driving statistics for the province, noting OPP laid more than 10,000 impaired driving charges and saw a 16% increase in impaired driving occurrences this year compared to 2022. He adds officers have seen a 10% increase in impaired driving collisions as well. Ooh, why don't we watch it on X? I haven't plugged in my headphones yet, so I need to do that. Oh. And hopefully this will be a little bit more balanced audio-wise when I actually untangle these. I was kind of out of it today, just kind of dawdling around, watching Star Trek, trying to get myself motivated to do anything. There we go.
Over 10,000 impaired driving charges laid by the OPP this year alone. When we look at the average over the last 5 years, we're seeing an increase in impaired driving occurrences year over year over year. And this year compared to just last year, we're seeing an increase of 16% of impaired driving occurrences. We're seeing a 10% increase of impaired driving collisions. We're in our festive ride campaign now, and just in the last 7 weeks, OPP officers have put in over 10,000 festive ride events, putting in 21,000 hours of ride campaign, laying over 1,200 charges just in the festive ride season. 49 people have died already this year in alcohol or drug-related crashes. 397 people have died in collisions across the province involving their motor vehicles. And that is far higher than the 319 we saw last year. And we have not seen 400 road fatalities since 2004. And with a few days remaining, I don't want to see us break that 400 number. Please be a better driver. It may not be icy or snowy where we are here in the GTA with plus temperatures and rain and wet roads, but please drive to the conditions. Slow down, keep your headlights on, please. Let's get through to New Year's without another single fatality. Do your part. Be a better driver. Please drive safe.
Yeah, so that's horrible. We have, 49 people died from alcohol or drug-related crashes. And nearly 400 people died in motor vehicle collisions. And let's do all we can do. So, reminder what Doug Ford is doing. Let's pause that. Beer, wine coming to Ontario corner stores by 2026. Yeah, that's what we need while people are still kind of in the depths of despair with the pandemic and the economy and not being able to afford anything, and more people turning to despair, illnesses of despair. This is only going to increase, and Doug Ford is just making alcohol way more accessible when, as I've said before in other live streams, we didn't need it expanded. We were fine with the beer store and the LCBO. We didn't need it in grocery stores. We don't need it in corner stores, which just also makes it more accessible to younger people, stealing it, making it more available that way. You know, this is just going to be a cocktail for some disaster, and I messed that up. This is going to be a cocktail of disaster, the way that Doug Ford is running this province and all the things he does. But you know, that's the thing, billions at stake as Doug Ford government prepares to change booze retailing in Ontario. So why don't we take money away? You know, we lose money when it comes to our license plate renewals, but we'll gain money, hopefully, by charging people more money for alcohol. Doug Ford doesn't think. He's a populist. He does whatever he thinks people will like. To an extent, he'll do whatever he thinks his people will like, and he will do what he thinks his donors will like. But for like the vast majority of Ontario, what is actually helpful doesn't help his donors, and therefore he doesn't really help the people or go out of his way to do things that would be useful. But he had this little thingy. I haven't actually listened to this yet. You know, 2023 was a very busy year for our government as we continued to build a stronger Ontario, Doug Ford says in his tweet. Here's just a few of the many important things we've accomplished this year. Let's see what he thinks he accomplished. Let's go that way. Okay. Trying to center this. Good enough.
Our team has been tirelessly working to make Ontario the best place to live, work, and raise a family. It's going to be tough, but I'm going to take just a few minutes.
Darn it, there's music in the background. Okay, I'll have to read it. Just because, you know, I'm worried about music. But then you miss his afflections and stuff and how campy he sounds. And his outfit is matching his painting in the background. And it looks like it's the same outfit in all these pictures in the background, too. I'm sure he has more than one outfit. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think it's safe to play when he has music playing over his talking? I don't want to get hit up with copyright in my last video of the year. So I'll read it. It's going to be tough, but I'm going to take just a few minutes to try to recap some major announcements we made in 2023. So here we go. We're doubling gains payments for 200,000 low-income seniors, providing targeted hydro bill relief for eligible low-income households, and extending the gas tax cut through June 30th, 2024. Okay, none of those... Yeah. We're making the dream of home ownership a reality by building 1.5 million homes by 2031. That is not happening. That is so not happening. That's not a reality. And we also need 1.5 million new homes now. Home ownership isn't getting any easier, and the homes that he tends to allow his developer buddies to build are homes regular people can't afford. We've also removed provincial portion of the HST. Of course, let's underfund the government even more. our new proposed rental housing, and cut tape to speed up construction processes. You know, cutting red tape to speed up construction projects, always a good idea. Yeah, let's just cut that red tape so buildings can go up faster without so many restrictions getting in the way. What's the worst that could happen? We're making it more convenient and more affordable to use public transit by eliminating double fares across different transit systems. Isn't that a municipal thing? Maybe. I don't know. We're saving commuters up to $16,000 or $1,600 a year. I find that highly unlikely. I need to see the numbers on that. Where is he getting those numbers? I want to see those numbers. That's on top of building the nation's largest transit expansion, launching EVO Go buses in the GTA, and bringing more Go trips to Niagara. We've attracted $27 billion in investment from global automakers to build the cars of tomorrow here in Ontario. And from the EVs to smartphones, critical minerals are essential to technologies of the future. That's why we're investing in mining and exploration. That's exactly what we need right now, are more mines cutting into the land to help unlock our vast mineral resources and support job creation right across Ontario. We've invested over $514 million in 2023 to train more workers in skilled trades. Okay, I want to see these numbers. Like, where is he saying this from? Because here's the thing. Politicians are allowed to lie. They are. Like, we could say there's more trained nurses and stuff like that. Like, there's more opportunities to train nurses, but they don't stay in Ontario because of the underwhelming pay and benefits that they receive and that the way that they're treated by the government. So, are they training more workers who then stay here? Or are they training more workers who then go elsewhere? Or are they training more workers, period? Because he can say all of these things and he doesn't have to verify it. He doesn't have to cite his sources. And unfortunately, a lot of people will believe him, but I've learned better than to believe anything he says unless it's something that would benefit his developer buddies. We're connecting you to more convenient care close to home. Like, you know, forcibly removing people from hospitals who need, you know, a little bit longer care by telling them they have to go to a long-term care home that could be over 100 kilometers away, or spend like $1,400 a day staying in the hospital where your family can visit you. Oh, and they can also transfer you against your will. You mean that? That thing that he's allowed to happen. This includes increasing access to services in local pharmacies. Yes, he's privatizing a lot of things, and there's all this issue around Shoppers Drug Marts here and the way that he prioritized giving them COVID vaccines and COVID testing and all that sort of stuff, and you know, offering them his, again, buddies to do this. Expanding community surgical and diagnostic centers. Again, in the private sector, cutting wait times for key services. No, that's never happened. And enhancing home and community care, only for people who can afford it. There you have it, folks. That's as much as I could ever cover in a few minutes, and it's just a fraction of what we've done, but we've done so much more. I'm grateful for our incredible team working hard, plan to deliver a bold and ambitious plan for our province, and I can't wait to continue to getting it done for the people of Ontario in 2024. Okay, so a lot of that was bullshit. Here, let's take an example for this. Like, did you know Ontario has the shortest surgical wait times in Canada? Which is something Doug Ford likes to brag about, but that's a yearly thing. Like, that's standard. However, they have gone up significantly since 2018 and increased from 2022 to 2023. So, if we look at this one, you see this is 2018 wait times. And so for Ontario, for healthcare wait times. It's 15.7 weeks. These are weeks we're talking about. And in 1993, it was down to, just a couple months, really, just over 2.5 months. And that was in 2018. And since Doug Ford has been in power, that has now gone up. So it went from 15.7 to 20.3, an added month and a half for wait times for often critical things that people need to get done. And I'm sorry, if you live in PEI, ooh, or Nova Scotia, those are horrible wait times. Like, ouch. Wow, over a year. Like, yeah. And all of these wait times are ridiculous. Like, nobody should be having to wait any of this. Like, if we go back to the 1993 wait times, that's where we should be, and that should be the goal. But something I've been telling people, and I don't think they quite understand me when I say it, is we have to fight for the next 10 years just to get the same health care we got 30 years ago. Because it's been increasingly getting worse and worse and worse. And, I remember being able to, my mom taking me to regular doctor visits just for checkups, all these things that were covered, all these tests and scans, and the wait times weren't bad and all that sort of stuff. Like, I remember a time where it was like that. But now all I'm hearing is like, well, that test now costs money. That blood work now costs money. Well, now you have to wait this long in order to get this scan done, unless you're willing to pay a private clinic, and then you can get it done sooner. Our healthcare is falling apart. Like, it's so falling apart, and so many people aren't paying attention to it until, it's too late. Which is, horrible. Let's see. Let's bring the hair out. How about that? Yes, me with my hair. I don't need this in right now. My experimenting with this is a necklace. Like, it's just a plain old necklace. Experimenting with outfit. I like that. I like that I have an audience too, that I can experiment my outfits with. And my majority report makeup combination of the red, black, and white, which I really like. Yeah, so that's all horrible. Hi, Abernathy. Did you want to come up? He was being so annoying right before I started. Like, it's fine if they want to come up on my lap and just sit there, but when they start getting all moving around and stuff, and then he sees the necklace and he'll want to chew on the necklace. Yeah, no. Oh, and see, I have my nice little bracelet on. Okay, you need to, if you're going to be here, you need to just sit. Can you just sit? Can you just sit? Here, everyone wants to see you. There you go. Everyone would like to see you. There we go. Big stretch. Let's check the sandbox. Don't eat the necklace, Abernathy. Don't get that out of your teeth. Hey. Okay, down you go. Down you go. Down. Let's see. Oh, welcome everyone who has since joined into this. And yeah, I decided to dress all schnazzy for a party I'm going to later on tonight. Hence this outfit that I haven't worn on here before. This is actually the first time I've gotten to wear this this hoodie thing. I got it at the Pirate Festival in the park. Because I go to those things. Well, I used to actually be a character in the Royal Medieval Fair, and this outfit actually would have been really nice for that too. Whoops. And This was in like a bin of odds and ends clothing that the people were just trying to get rid of. And so it's handmade. It's unique. It's one of a kind, which I love when I go out shopping, is to find unique stuff. And I didn't realize that it's a little bit see-through, which is maybe an added bonus. I don't know. But yeah, I really like it. I like the style. I like the bell sleeves. I'm always a fan of these when I'm out in thrift shops. Ah. Let's see who's in the sandbox. Grand Theft Autobot, is Ford going to put drive-through beer stores next? I'm pretty sure you can. With the regular beer store, I'm pretty sure you can already. It would be quite the trip though if they decided to you know, include it at Tim Hortons. Get your morning coffee with a shot of whatever people put in coffee. That would be a little bit ridiculous, but who knows? Don't necessarily rule it out, but you can drive through in a lot of the beer stores. Liquor stores, the LCBO, you can't, as far as I know. But yeah, if you go to a regular convenience store or something like that and they start offering drive-through options, we're fucked. George McDuncan, I totally can relate to getting my dream job and found out I used like a hand puppet. Oh, somebody got their dream job and realized it wasn't so? Yeah, I've been there. Rebel HQ. Yeah. Uh, oh, Looney Tunes 9000 mentioning Frodo's vet bill. So close. I only have $120 to go, and then it's paid off. Thank you to some amazing people. In particular, a really good friend of mine who has been so generous over the years. Really just an amazing friend. And he tries to help where he can because he's one of the fortunate people. He was able to get a house before the housing bubble exploded or the housing crisis started. He has a good paying job and stuff, but he sees so many people around him suffering that he tries to, you know, he lucked out and he tries to pay that forward a lot. And he's just like a super wonderful person. But yeah, only $120 to go to pay off Frodo's vet bill, which is amazing. Grand Theft Autobot again, without pesky regulations, trust the corpos to do the right thing out of the kindness of their hearts. Yeah, cut that red tape. Let's see what happens. Oh, Brandy Nuance is asking who Frodo is. That is Frodo. He is a cat of mine. I think he's probably close to 16 years now. He means the world to me in so many ways. Like, he's helped me get through so much. And he got really sick starting back in September, and I had to take him to the vet. And then I recently had to take him back again to get tests and stuff. And it turns out he has kidney disease, and it's at the beginning stages, but he could also have cancer and stuff. And I've had a lot of cats in my life, and when their time came, I accepted it. I'm not there with Frodo. I can't. The thought of losing him now is just unbearable. I also lost his sister Tulip in the spring. So I don't want to lose him too. Like, I got the two kittens, Abernathy and Lanier, back in August because he wanted siblings and I wanted to bring him, you know, company and stuff. But then he got sick almost right away. And his vet bills have been quite pricey, but if he has something that can be fixed, I need it to be fixed because I can't bear the thought of losing him right now. And he has been eating semi-regularly for the last little while, which is good. And unfortunately, the food he likes the most is the food I can't keep him on. It's called recovery, and it's expensive. But even then, I might swallow the cost to keep him alive. Except it's a high protein food meant for cats coming out of surgeries or illnesses and stuff. But when they have kidney disease, a high protein cat food is a big no-no. So it's like, what you do? So it's still, he's eating right now. That's play it one day at a time. So he is currently also the most expensive thing I have ever owned between these two major vet incidences over the past few months. But he is worth every penny, every bit of it. Every night we get, he likes to do bedtime snuggles with me every morning. He wants to snuggle in with me. He's an amazing cat. Winter, I hope everyone is doing well. I hope you're doing well as well. Grand Theft Autobot, I thought Alberta was the Texas of Canada. Either way, Alberta just can't catch a break, being compared to two of the worst states. Yeah, it's kind of a combination between Texas and Florida. Except no beaches. No beaches. If I had a story that I was going to cover, but it's about encampments and stuff like that, and I think that's just a little bit too heavy for what I want to do today on this stream. Morbius Dragon, Happy New Year's, everyone. Well, Happy New Year's to you too. Oops, I lost my spot again. I hate when that happens. Okay. BKK, 1993, we had a blizzard over spring break, closed our city for weeks. Now we may get a light snowfall or two. That's a good segue into another thing I wanted to cover. So, Terrell Tailfeathers, wonderful person to follow on Twitter. There's also still green grass growing outside my apartment in Calgary. Yeah, and he's like, in case nobody believed me, December 30th, 2023. That is green grass in Calgary, Alberta. You know, the part of Canada, which is pretty much all of Canada, that should be covered in snow right now. This is so detrimental to the environment, what is happening. And Agent NDN also says shit, fucked, we're fucked. Yeah, because somebody had tweeted out, for future reference, December 28th, 2023, fresh fiddleheads popping up. Yeah, we're having some spring growth at the end of December. And as I said to Terrell, let's see, is my reply near the top? Of course not. I replied to this one. Well, what I said, because I can't, oh, there it is. There we go. It's been well above zero and no real snowfalls in all of December in my area. How do we have a spring when we had no winter? The trees, the wildlife, the water table, all of it will suffer without proper seasons. Yeah. How do we have spring when we never had a winter? And I've talked about it in other live streams. Like, people don't understand how devastating this is. Like, the ecosystem can't change this rapidly. In my lifetime, I am seeing winter disappear completely. Trees have a much longer lifespan than me. They can't adapt. And most people, like, trees hibernate over the winter. You know, they save their resources, they bloom in the spring. So what happens if halfway through winter they start to bud? Like, I've seen some trees with buds. Then when the actual spring comes around, they don't have as much energy stored up. They're not as hardy as they could be. And then in the summer we get these downbursts and sudden storms and massive systems coming in that break a lot of trees because the trees aren't even as strong as they used to be. They're becoming a little bit more brittle. Like, things that are supposed to bloom in the spring shouldn't be blooming at the end of December. It is scary. And then a lot of people, again, they're like, oh, it's great without the snow, without the snow. Canada has some of the largest freshwater supply. It's the largest in the world. We have more fresh water than anyone else. Large part due to our winters. And the snow melts. And the glaciers. Because all that snow melts into the ground, and yeah. I don't think people are prepared for not having seasons. Like, I miss when we used to have 4 seasons. There'd be some oddities in it, but they were fairly reliable. You knew roughly what temperature would be in March, August, November, February. You knew roughly where you'd be. Now it can be all over the place. Because I know the past couple winters, some people have said, oh, winter is just taking forever because we're getting into like the end of March and like massive snowstorms and stuff of that sort. And I have to remind people, no, winter hasn't been longer. It was just shifted. Like, it didn't start till January. And I hear like the Arctic Circle currents are all going to be messed up this year. So we're going to have times where it's like this temperature out, which again, sitting around 0. And then overnight, it's going to drop to like -30. We're going to get some massive like Arctic blasts going on and stuff. And you can't keep up with it. And people's immune systems get all messed up because of it and everything. And it's just, yeah. Morbius Dragon also likes how I look with the hood. Well, thank you. I can hear my cat crying. Emergency Remedial Truth. Hi, Sandy. Hi, Sandy's friends. They're your friends too. Everyone is friends in the sandbox. At least I hope so. Brandy Nuance. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. I'm so bad with names. Well, I'm glad I was told about your channel, but I have to go, everyone. Have a good, super sweet night. You too. Ah, there we go. Emergency Remedial Truth. I have been having great days getting out and spreading smiles. Just happy despite all the horrors. Do what I can from here to share love. Well, that's good. As I always say, do what you can when you can. My dogs are goth. We have had snow in Calgary for a couple weeks, but it hasn't been very cold. Yeah, and it could be in some spots if it's close to a vent or a building or something of that sort. The snow melts around those areas, and without the ground actually freezing, then that's when plants can get confused because the ground isn't hard. Like the up north, the permafrost, which means permanently frosted ground, like ground that is usually always cold and solid and stuff, has been melting, like has been warming up. And that releases a ton well, actually more than tons of greenhouse gases into the air that's been trapped up in there. Let's see. Mono, haven't the bears been unable to hibernate? I don't know what's happening. Like, that's the thing. I don't know what's happening to the wildlife that normally hibernates because they're probably getting mixed signals all over the place. And if they wake up too early, they're going to go out, but the food supplies that they're used to seeing won't be there because bears are omnivores. They eat a lot of like berries and things of that sort, which won't be available. Or other animals that they might eat that might have somehow managed to stay hibernating and stuff. So they run the risk of waking up too soon, like all animals that hibernate, and not having their food sources that they're used to. George McDuncan, you said you like one-of-a-kind garments. I'm my own tailor and have been wearing only tailor-made clothing for 30 years now. It would make me happy to create something for you. Oh, thank you, because there's actually outfits that I find hard to come by that I want. I'm a little old-fashioned this way, but I like dresses that have a full skirt and long sleeves. I'm a little bit conservative in how I dress. But whenever I Google dresses that are full length and has sleeves, I get outfits that are meant to like totally hide your body completely. Like for super religious people of different religions and stuff like that, like just total, it's a sheet, you know. But like I love the bell sleeves I wear. Like around Halloween, the witches' outfits, I like to get those. But I like to have, you know, stuff that maybe is a little bit revealing around the chest area, sleeves that go down to at least the elbow, but have like pizzazz and style to it. You know, it's always so drab. And then what happens is usually a lot of the dresses have like super short skirts, which I don't like, or spaghetti straps, which I will never wear. So you can get full length skirts with spaghetti straps or super short skirts with, you know, maybe some shoulder coverage. It's hard to actually find a nice dress. Mm. It's one of the things like I wish I could sew because I have so many outfits that need to be taken in certain places and whatnot, but it's a skill I was never able to pick up. My mom had it though. She actually sewed my junior high graduation gown. She made that. And I remember going to the fabric store with her to pick out the pattern of the dress that I wanted. And then I could pick out two colors of fabric. And so I was able to pick out the fabric that I wanted for it. So I had a one-of-a-kind dress for my junior high graduation. And she used to make like sew my Halloween outfits too, like when you're as a purple unicorn, and she made that outfit. So she was a lot more talented with the sewing machine, even though it's not something she did regularly. It's just something she just basically knew how to use one and follow patterns. George McDuncan, I ran out of space. I'm not networking, but offering a gift. I'm not working, so I can't offer any support in monies right now, or I'd gladly give to Frodo's cause. We have 3 cats of my own. Yeah, I understand. Um, I understand the people who watch me way too much because a lot of people are in the same situation as me, and I get it. Um, it's a struggle. It's such a struggle, and it should be getting easier, but it's not. And we have the governments to thank for that. Every level of government is responsible for where we are right now. Emergency remedial truth. I am going busking later. Should get one of the ones doing last minute party supply runs. I busk by the grocery store. LOL. Oh, what do you do for busking? You might have to highlight my name in your response so I can see it. Sorry. Ah! I fidget with this under the desk where you guys can't see, but Abernathy just decided to attack my hand because it was making noise. Looney Tunes 9000, a sheet, do you mean a see-through Sandy? No. I forget what they're called, but you see like a lot of Muslim women wearing it, a lot of Amish women wearing these type of dresses where it's just, they're not form-fitting and they're meant to be very conservative and hide your body. I want something that, yeah, I'm very particular about the fits. Mono, everyone hates it when it's too warm to sleep. Yeah, I like a cold bedroom, but unfortunately, it has served my interest this last little week because some people know when I was doing my Christmas stream, there was a plumbing incident in my bathroom. Nothing to do with me, not my fault, but some water was coming up out of the floor where it shouldn't be coming up out of. And it made quite the mess. I'm a little annoyed because they came, they fixed it, that was great, but I was told somebody would be by to clean up that mess. And nobody came by to clean up that mess. And the smell was making me sick to the point where, because this is the bathroom, it's attached to my bedroom. Like it's right there. And so the smell was becoming unbearable. So I actually had to open up the window. And if it was like -15 out, I don't think I'd be able to pull that off. But since it's only hovering around 0, I was able to open the window. I broke down and I did the best cleaning I could myself. I had a N95 mask in storage for emergencies. So I wore that plus a surgical mask over top, rubber gloves, like all out, and cleaned it up the best I could. But there's still some smell, so I'm going to have to bug the landlord about that. Really disgusting. So disgusting. Just whatever was in the floors came up out of, ugh. My dogs are goth. I love sewing, was accepted into a good fashion design program after high school, but was an idiot and didn't go. That's unfortunate. It's one of those things you have to go out in the world and live there and experience things before you can really decide what to do for a living. It's one of the things, like if people ever ask my opinion after high school, I'd be like, don't go to college or university. Go out, volunteer, live in the world, do things. Because I realized the thing that I would have actually wanted to do is be an ESL teacher to adults. And now that I realize it, I would need to get a university diploma and whatever, and then another year in college to get certified, which is, it's not something I can do. Financially wise, yeah, it's completely out of my reach. Whereas I'm pretty sure I would have a very happy time being that as a profession, but I didn't know that until I got out in the world and did volunteer and explored different things and whatnot. Let's see. Emergency remedial truth. Guitar and I sing. I'm an electric left of the box. Cool. I can sing. Well, let's get back to some of this stuff. Looney Tunes 9000. Landlord must have been very pissed. There's been some issues in the building. The laundry room flooded not too long ago, and so this is probably part of that issue with some clogging in the pipes because I'm on top of the laundry room. And it happened, of course, Christmas Eve at midnight is when it first started to happen. And so you have your 2 days of holidays and stuff. So The plumber wasn't even able to get by for a while, and I wasn't using my washroom, so I wasn't making it worse. But the people above me, sometimes when they used their washroom, it would cause it to come up and flood. The flood didn't last very long because it would seep back into the floor. So it was, it didn't spread out too much. It didn't damage anything else, but it made a mess on the floor and it smells. Oh, Ian J.A. Green, love your outfit. Why, thank you. I like experimenting with my outfits. Anyway, why don't we actually like get back to some like newsy stuff? I was just going to go over again to see what other kind of newsy stuff I wanted to go over. Stuff that isn't too heavy. We can get into that in my next live stream. But still, you know, relevant news stuff. Okay, I think I have 2 more stories that are relevant news stuff, and then we can go into some social stuff. How about that? Sound like a plan? Sure. So, in a live stream earlier this week, well, in the past couple live streams, there's actually been some talk about the Canadian Supreme Court. And, you know, and I mean that on like provincial level and on a federal level. How I have a lot more faith in the Canadian courts than Americans have in their Superior Court for a reason, for a good reason. As in, Canadian courts tend to do a better job following the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which isn't that old actually, because our judges tend to rule in ways that adapt to the times, that as things are progressing, they can understand, okay, this is needed for that, and this falls into the charter this way, and this is protecting people under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms and all that sort of stuff. So I'm not as worried about the court making a bad decision as you would be in the States, because it's a lot less political. It follows the Charter of Rights and Freedoms while still progressing with the times. And part of that is to the people who get to be on the Supreme Courts, both federally and provincially, they have to actually be qualified. You know, they have to be, that has to be their life, you know, that's their jobs and stuff. We also have mandatory retirement ages and things of that sort. So here's just another example of the court. It's a horrible situation, but the court made the right call. BC Supreme Court pauses legislation banning drug consumption in public spaces, citing irreparable harm. Now keep in mind, BC, that's British Columbia, over on the west coast there, Lance's turf, has an NDP provincial government. That's supposed to be great because the NDP, they're the left-leaning party in Canada. They're the progressives. They're the ones that, you know, as social commies should be behind. They suck. They're horrible. They are just orange liberals. They're some of their things are even conservative. Like it is, I've covered them before in other videos. The BC NDP party is a sham of a party to call itself left-leaning or progressive. But let's get into this. British Columbia Supreme Court Justice has granted a temporary injunction against the BC NDP government's legislation banning all drug use in a wide range of public spaces, pausing the law 3 days before it was to come into force. So this is where the Supreme Courts of the provincial stuff come in handy, because they deal with, you know, the government making piss poor legislation that actually can cause harm and violate people's rights. The BC Restricting Public Consumption of Illegal Substances Act passed in early November and was set to become law on January 1st. However, it would not have immediately impacted people's lives because Cabinet had not yet approved regulations to implement it. That's another problem this government has. Let's pass a bill before we even know what we're doing with it. Federal government has done that with a lot of stuff recently, and it's been backfiring. A lot to do with online content and whatnot. The proposed changes would ban illegal substance use from all public parks to sports fields and beaches, as well as close to any workplaces, state parks, pools, transit stops, residences, or playgrounds, including within 6 meters of a place to which the public has access and a prescribed place. Some people might think, well, that's good. We don't want people doing drugs in parks and things of that sort. Where do you think the encampments are, the tent encampments? They're usually in public parks, public land. And people there, generally speaking, if they use drugs, will do it in their tent. There's a safety net built in there. They have their community. If they were to OD, they have their community, their friends, their neighbors to look out for them. When they can no longer go to these places where they can feel safe and supported, and they're isolated and they have to go out of sight, if they have an OD, there's nobody there to find them. And it shouldn't be like that. There are safe consumption sites in BC, but there's not enough. This article gets into it. The issue of drug use has just exploded in BC. But on Friday, BC Supreme Court Justice Chief Christopher Hinkson, ordered the law paused until March 31st, ruling it would likely result in more deaths, displacement, and criminalization of people who use drugs. Because that's the other thing that would happen is people who are unhoused and have nowhere to go would then be punished for their, disease of despair. It's how I usually refer to them. It's a despair illness. When you're living on the streets, if you're unhoused, there's very little you can turn to for an escape. And a lot of people might not be into drugs, might not be addicts before they get onto the streets, but sometimes that's the only way they can cope with their surroundings. And so a lot of people will then become drug users because there's no hope. They see no other place. There's no other release. There's no other way that they can escape the absolute horror that they're living in every day. Irreparable harm will be caused if the act comes into force, Hinkson wrote in his ruling released Friday. There is a high degree of probability that at least some of the harm set out by the plaintiff will in fact occur. The injunction was sought in November by Harm Reduction Nurses Association, a BC-based coalition of nurses and healthcare professionals who argued the act would result in more deaths from toxic drugs. So this is one of the situations where, again, people can sue the government, the provincial governments, to overrule things that they feel go against people's charters of rights and freedoms. And we've seen that happen in provinces where the provincial government has passed legislation saying teachers are forced to misgender students who don't feel safe coming out at home and that sort of stuff. And some of those have been fought in court and they have been won. The problem we then run into is sometimes because the court is upset they didn't get their own way, or the province is upset they didn't get their own way, they'll use the notwithstanding clause, which is a clause that was built into the Charter of Rights and Freedoms that allows provinces to bypass people's Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It's allowed to overrule that so it can violate people's rights for certain set periods of time. That notwithstanding clause needs to be booted out of our Constitution. Like, it's just, there's no reason it should be there because it's just abused by governments wanting to get their own way, even though it goes against people's rights. And so I could, if this was a conservative government in BC, I could almost see them pulling the notwithstanding clause to say, no, we're going to pass this legislation anyway, and there's nothing you can do about it. With the BC NDP, can't say I rule it out, considering how they've been acting. Centrally, but not exclusively, the act will promote more lone drug use, particularly dangerous particularly dangerous due to an absence or diminished degree of support in the event of an overdose. When people are isolated and out of sight, they are at a much higher risk of dying, wrote Hinkson in his decision. If implemented, the law would be the first major change to BC's drug decriminalization pilot program, which removed grounds to arrest or charge people for personal possession of small amounts of some illicit drugs since it began in January 31st. Toxic, unregulated drugs kill at least 2,039 people in the province in the first 10 months of this year, according to the BC Coroner's Service last month. That brings the total to 13,317 deaths since BC declared a public health emergency in 2016. The HRNA said in a statement Friday the act would exacerbate many harms to drug users, not only undermining efforts towards decriminalization, but endanger people's lives. So yeah, they're going to decriminalize possession of small amounts of drugs, but then criminalize where you can use it. The act would cause irreparable harm to people at risk of injury and death amid public health crisis, the association said in a statement Friday. The proposed law would threaten the lives, health, safety, and Charter of Rights of our clients, many of whom live in communities that lack safe indoor locations where drug use is permitted. BC Health Minister Adrian Dix said Friday the province will respect the decision and will review the impact of the court decision and possible response by government in coming days. Hopefully that's not the notwithstanding clause. In our view, it takes away our ability to do what every other province does, which is to regulate where drugs can be used, he said in an unrelated media availability. In a statement following the decision, BC's public safety minister said the law was meant to protect families, children, and vulnerable community members, while also helping substance users. How is that supposed to help substance users? How is that supposed to help vulnerable communities that these substance users are generally a part of? I'm at a loss as to how making it illegal to consume drugs, except for in very specific places that are hard to access, helps. We're determined to keep doing everything we can to save lives in the face of the toxic drug crisis, while recognizing that hard drugs should not be used in public places frequented by children and families, Minister Mike Farnworth said. Yeah, I'm for not using drugs around children. I am good with that. I do not want drugs used around children. And I'll get to that in a moment, actually. Official opposition leader Kevin Falcon of BC United says the injection is proof of BC's irresponsible approach to decriminalization, which he once again called on the BC NDP to end on Friday. Falcon said the pilot has been a terrible mistake and lacks proper guardrails, which can ban on use in some areas would help address. So they're fine just criminalizing drugs again. That's the more conservative leaning party. Let's just be able to throw people in jail again for minor drug use. Friday's injunction is certainly not good for communities struggling with the use of drugs taking place in park benches and beaches and public spaces, he told CBC News. The mayor said, we acknowledge that no one should be compelled to engage in substance use in the shadows, but it should not come at the expense of degrading our public spaces. Not enough safe spaces. David Piggott, who lives in a tent in Vancouver's Oppenheimer Park, said Friday that his biggest concern is kids, but he doesn't know where else he will be able to smoke his drugs if the law takes effect. He says he often smokes his drugs alone in his tent because there aren't supervised inhalation sites near him in the downtown east side, increasing his risk of overdosing. Where the hell am I supposed to go? Outside where I can get arrested, or inside where no one can see me? He said in an interview Friday. Fiona Wilson, president of the BC Association of Chiefs of Police, says an organization is disappointed by Friday's decision and supports the legislation as it stands, as well as BC's decriminalization pilot. She says while most drug users go out of their way to avoid children, the ban targets those who don't. No, it doesn't, actually. I'll get to that. We are talking about those rare circumstances where that is not being respected, and it's really important for our police officers to be able to address that kind of behavior, said Wilson, who is also a deputy chief with Vancouver Police. She says she hopes the revised legislation will strike the balance between addressing problematic public consumption but also ensuring that people who use drugs in our communities are safe and are able to do so in places where they're not alone. Now, what do I mean by the children thing? It's not the people in the encampments who use drugs that would be the higher risk of exposing children to drugs. It is people in homes with children, people who have an apartment or have a house who are users that use at home. Those are the ones. It's kind of like, there's all this talk about protecting children from abuse of all sorts, and looking at teachers or looking at this and that and the other thing, while totally neglecting the fact that the vast majority of children abused are abused by people within the home. So this is just, again, demonizing, villainizing people who have run out of options, who have nowhere else to go, by, again, making it about the children. And I'm in full agreement. Children should not be exposed to that type of usage and stuff. But this doesn't solve the problem. There needs to be more safe consumption sites. There needs to be housing for everyone so that they have a safe place to go to, so that they can be around people to make sure that things are fine, and to make sure and to actually have the services needed for when people are ready to stop the habits, that they have the supports that they need. And in order for people to be ready to, stop the habit, they need to be in a situation that isn't the same as where they're in. Like, how do you expect somebody to try to break their addiction if they're only going to be returned to the exact same environment? There's so many factors that play into why people use drugs and why they remain on drugs. It's a multi-tiered problem that needs a multi-tiered solution. Let's check the sandbox, shall we? Clarence Liar, the U.S. Supreme Court doesn't make the decisions based on precedent. They make them based on Christian fascism. They do. And then they also go back to the American Constitution, sometimes a couple hundred years, to say, well, 200 years ago they said this in the Constitution, so we're going to go back to that. You can't do that with the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms because it hasn't been around that long, for one thing. And we see it as more of something that can be changed and adapted and whatnot. But they try to use the American Constitution as an excuse for, well, way back then this was law. Like, why people still use the words of the founding fathers blows my mind. What the American Constitution was written for a far different time than what today is. There's no way they could have predicted everything that would happen in the future and what society would look like. And so to base your laws on things from men from 100 years ago, from hundreds of years ago, is ridiculous. And Clarence Liar and precedent is a terrible way to make law. Yeah, and that can change too. Looney Tunes 9000, probably they're just sad that they can't get their own damn way. Probably talking about the notwithstanding clause. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Hello, Adrian Vixen. Nice to see you out. Kelly Batch, sorry, I don't know the name of the, but the thing you're wearing on your head is very cool. It's a necklace. It's just a plain necklace that I decided to clip into my hair so that it would dangle this way. I like being creative with my outfits, and you know what? Sometimes I think a necklace doesn't have to go around the neck. Ah, I lost my spot. Let's see, how are we for time? Oh, we still got time. Yeah, they're probably called headbands or head jewelry or something like that. I have more elaborate ones that are actually designed for this type of wearing, but they were a little bit too elaborate for what I wanted. So I went with just a necklace. Felicia Free 808, Sandy, you look gorgeous today. Happy New Year to you and everyone in the sandbox. Aloha from Hawaii. Why, thank you. I I like having a chat that appreciates me experimenting with outfits. I'm not the type of person that likes to be, standard cookie cutter outfit fashion wearer. I like to explore and try new things and just look different. Yeah. Some people will say, well, my makeup looks horrible if I wear like. There were some people that were upset with my yellow eyeshadow I wore in one of the videos, but you know what? I like it because it makes my eyes pop. It's a good contrast. And so I've always worn my makeup very bold like this when I decide to, go out because I like it like this. So I don't care if people don't like it. I like it. And you can't see it, but I've even added sparkles. But it doesn't pick up on the camera. There's sparkles around my eyes because I can. And then I have this nice bracelet on. And then I got a big old costume ring on and my slinky. I'm just all decked out. I like it. I like it. And then I'm wearing black leggings that are a bit shiny underneath the outfit because this is a long, I don't know. I'm actually going to stand up for you guys. Wow. Okay. You can't really see it, but it's like short dress length. Ah. Yeah, it's short dress length. But I don't like short dresses, so I'm wearing leggings underneath. I'm probably going to have to take it out in between this and going to my shindig later on tonight. I'm going out to a friend's place for New Year's Eve. Okay. Well, let's get into another very interesting story. And then we can get into some fun little, well, not fun, but some social issues where there's lots of commentary to add. So, again, in my live streams recently, I've been talking about the CBC. That's the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. And recently, they've had to cut a lot of jobs and a lot of their programming, which is not good. They're coming up short for funding by a lot. And of course, Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservatives, the federal Conservatives, is both shaming the CBC for cutting these jobs, but at the same time saying the CBC should be completely defunded. Because of course he would. He's the one that decided to tweet out, oh my God, it's now discovered that CBC is funded by the government because of Twitter showing the little badge underneath it saying that it's government funded or something. And it's like, yeah, everyone knew that. It's not a secret. That's the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. It's always been government funded. It's a crown corporation. Like, it's on the Wikipedia page. It doesn't serve Justin Trudeau. It serves whatever, the status quo is. And sometimes the status quo is conservatives too. I do have my issues with the CBC, but they also, do a lot for programming and getting different types of news out there and getting Canadian content out. Well, like I said, those cuts have been pretty bad lately. New Year's Eve will look much different this year on CBC TV. CBC said in a statement Friday that financial pressures have led to the network to cancel this year's New Year Eve countdown. And as somebody quote tweeted this is such a fucking joke. The executives get huge bonuses, but they can't even do a New Year's Eve stream. Just defund the CBC. It's so horribly organized. They've already cut anything good they do. Yeah, I'm not necessarily a fan for defunding the CBC, but definitely the way the executives are paid that could be defunded, and then that money put into the programming and stuff. CBC cancels New Year's Eve broadcast special due to financial pressures. Canada's public broadcaster to instead air Just for Laughs special in most markets. So we're just going to rerun a comedy thing. Oh my God. Unfortunately, CBC is not able to produce a live New Year's Eve special this year due to financial pressures, read a statement obtained by CBC News from CBC spokesperson. Sorry, that just sounds funny to me. It's like CBC News found this out from a CBC spokesperson in the office next door. I don't know. Spokesperson Chuck Thompson and Carrie Kelly, senior manager of the public relations English communications. This year, CBC plans to air a new Just for Laughs special hosted by comedian Mae Martin on Sunday at 11 p.m. in most markets. The hour-long taped show will not include a countdown. It will be followed at midnight by an episode of Comedy Night with Rick Mercer as a new year rolls in. The program also streams on CBC Gem. It's a notable change for CBC, which has long been a reliable stop for viewers on the momentous night. The New Year's Eve program swept across the country's time zones to feature musical performers on the grounds of key cities. Rick Mercer was often a focal point as the ninth MC. The broadcaster announced early in December that it plans to cut 10% of its workforce, about 600 union and non-union positions, and axed some programming as it copes with potential $125 million budget shortfall. So the place known for showing us what's happening New Year's Eve is can't show us what's happening New Year's Eve. Well, most likely, here in this part of Ontario anyway, we can do a countdown. Toronto will have City TV doing their own special probably. But it's so sad that, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, the thing that's funded by the government, I remember tuning into some of the specials that they would have for New Year's Eve. And yeah, the nice thing about it is it's all kind of cohesive. Like it's all segued into one another because we have the multiple time zones across the country. And so it would go from one to the other, but it was all kind of like one big program in a way. And they would feature Canadian talent across the country, singers, dancers, that sort of thing. And, it was a good way to expose some people to music they might not have heard otherwise, or to parts of our culture they might not have seen otherwise, um, or highlight the talents of particular artists, nice things like that. And it was also an event that people could go out to and spend the time together for those big events. And now it's gone because the funding and stuff. And, we can fund wars overseas. We can fund drilling project pipelines, war machines. We can fund all of that. But funding something that has been so, part of Canada for years and years and years, and something that, compared to these other things, probably doesn't cost that much. But no, can't do that. Gotta send money over to, overseas conflicts and help out there. It is just, it's a sad state that we're in like this. I have my issues with CBC to be sure, but having them do a special on New Year's Eve was always something nice. And it's a sad day when things like that go away because of irresponsible spending on the government's part. Oh. Yeah. I'm also not a fan of Rick Mercer. Not really. I liked his little bits where he would go into the States and ask them questions about Canada, like on university campuses and stuff, and ask them outlandish questions about Canada that often weren't even real things, just to see how they would answer. Those were often fun to watch. But other than that, he just strikes me as another typical white male neo-lib, you know, towing the status quo. And he was at an event recently where he was the MC and people were standing up, speaking up for Palestine. It was it was an award ceremony for authors. Yeah. It was some sort of award ceremony for authors, and he was the MC, and people were protesting because of what's happening to Palestinians. And he looked so put off by it, like, really? Yeah, it wasn't a good look. Clarence Lyer, Sandy, please be careful. COVID is one of its highest peaks. See, the nice thing about this circle of friends I have is that we all take it seriously. All of us still mask up while we're in public. If anyone is feeling sick, they're not allowed to go to the party. Tests are available if you need tests there. They have multiple air filters in every room, because they have immunocompromised people that go to these parties. And so that's the nice thing about my circle of friends too, is that not only will they see me dressed like this and be like, cool, they also take COVID very seriously, which is, pretty much the only reason why I feel safe going to this particular party. My dogs are goth. LOL, exactly, Sandy. Even their commercials say that, talking about CBC being government funded. Yeah. George McDuncan, love your yellow eyeshadow, and you do look fabulous. I hope you have a great time at your New Year's Eve party. Well, thank you, and thank you. Grand Theft Autobot, Rick Mercer got canceled again? Yeah. I wish I could at least duplicate his East Coast accent. Like, that's the thing. I would love to be able to do all the accents of Canada, like just across the board. That would be so fun. But the one I dream of, the one that I would want to nail completely. Okay, a little bit of a story here. So I was traveling out to Alberta for my father's burial, and on the way back, you have people over in like the East Coast that travel out to Alberta to work in the oil fields and stuff like that. And so there's actually like regular flights in between for people who are just doing that type of work. So they'll come in for a week or 2 weeks or something and then fly back. Um, and so I was getting on the flight to come back to Ontario, and there were these two men, and they had these like the big cowboy hats. Like I don't know what you call them, like big boulder cowboy hats, but like the Curious George type cowboy hats on. And then they were speaking, and I'm like, what the hell are they saying? Because it sounds like French. Sort of. Like I'm pretty sure they're speaking French. And then I found out that they were traveling back to Newfoundland. And I'm like, oh my God, French Newfie cowboys. I need to go to whatever town they live in. I need to see this town that has French Newfie cowboys. Like to hear French spoken with a Newfoundland accent blew my mind. And I'm like, I need to nail that. Like one of the things in improv that I would have loved to have been able to do, and it was a challenge, and I would sometimes challenge the other improvisers to do, was to try to speak French in an accent other than French, and not like our plain English accent either. Like to speak French with a Scottish accent. That would be wild. Or with like an Aussie accent. Speak French with an Aussie accent. Like that just seems like a horrible combination there. Um, but I have a sympathetic ear when it comes to accents. So if I'm around other people using an accent, I can generally pick it up. Or if I'm watching a movie with a heavy accent in it, sometimes I'll come out watching the movie with an accent for a little bit. Um, or if I'm with a group of people, I start to mimic their accent. It's not something I intentionally do, it just happens. But to consciously do an accent, I struggle with. I used to be able to do a really good French one and an Irish one. I haven't been able to do them that well lately. Um, but it's something I would love to do more. And it frustrates me because I know I'm capable of it because I do mimic it. But to consciously do it it's I can't seem to consciously do it. Um, like even I have a Muslim friend from Syria. And so sometimes I was tutoring her English. And so sometimes I'd be around them and then I would have to help them communicate with other people and say their names or something like that. And I remember one time I just rolled it out with the sweetest Arabic accent. And I'm like, I wish I could maintain that. Just the perfect, the perfect, yeah, it was just, I like nailed it. I wish I could consciously do that. BKK should be defunded, especially since its tax dollars going to bonuses for the top echelons of executives. Yeah, I'm not happy with how they're funded. Like, I'm fine with it being funded if it provides the programming it's supposed to, the CBC. Um, if they actually serve the purpose that it was supposed to, not have all of our taxpayer monies goes to the people at the top while cutting all the programs and stuff that made the CBC what it is. My dogs are goth. I really like Mae Martin. See, I don't even know who that is. I would have found out if CBC was doing their thing. George McDuncan, you sent me some emails. I should get them then. Um, I think I got it. Don't worry, I'm not going to read it right now. Oh, And thank you for help with the somebody just also sent me money for Frodo's vet bill. Really appreciate that. Oh, that was you too? First to your Gmail e-transfer, then well, thank you so much for your help with Frodo's vet bills. Really, really appreciate it. And it's almost, I'm only $120 away from having his vet bill completely paid off, which is just amazing. You guys are such a great community. Love you guys. Karen Bass, I miss the Rick Mercer rants. I think I remember some of them, like they were so long ago. Like there was a time where it felt like Canada was at least producing some good comedy shows. But like I can't even remember what the one program is called anymore. It was like our version of Saturday Night Live. And we had some really good stuff. And I remember the funny thing once was American Saturday Night Live copying almost word for word a skit from the Canadian one. Like it was just so utterly copied that there was no denying it. And I remember what the skit was. It was a group of friends playing the draw game. What's it called? When you draw something and people have to guess what you're drawing type thing. And then the person reads their clue, and their clue is the Prophet Muhammad. And they're like, and they didn't know how to go about drawing the Prophet Muhammad. And, it was a fun little skit, whatever. But then the American Saturday Night Live did the exact same thing, like almost word for word, like totally stole the Canadian joke there. Tisk, 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 Americans. You shouldn't steal Canadian comedy. You often won't even understand what you're doing. George McDuncan, who's Rick Mercer? I'll look him up. Sounds like a real piece of work. He's had his ups and downs when it comes to like Canadian culture. But he's from the East Coast, and he's been like a staple in the Canadian comedy scene for probably decades at this point. And like I said, there's some fine things about him, but then he just strikes me as another privileged elitist, neolib that just, maintains the status quo. His humor was never about challenging the establishment, let's put it that way. Some of you guys can do the Southern accents. I don't want to mimic American Southern accents. I like harsher accents when it comes down to it. Accents like Arabic, Russian, Quebec French, not France French, Quebec French, Scottish, like ones that are really like guttural type accents. Oh, I love them. Love them. But yeah, definitely not France French. You want the Quebec French. And I used to be able to do both of them. Like the French accent for France was a little bit more, as you would say, delicate, whereas the Quebec accent was a lot more. Oh no, I'm totally missing it. Got the France one. Yeah, it's pretty much I have to think of like Jean Cartien, and then I can maybe do the Quebec French one, where they don't say oui, they say wah. With the French accent, you tend to go oh oui with a little bit more charm, but with the Quebec French accent, it's wah, wah. I'm totally not even doing it right now. Oh. But there's an Albertan accent. Um, I find like the area Lance is from and the area I'm from, we have the very same type of California accent, as in it's very flat, which is usually why people from my area, when they travel elsewhere, they'll come back with an accent, but then people who've moved to Ontario from other places will often maintain their accent for the rest of their lives. And part of that has to do with how flat our accents are. So we don't have much in the way of inflections and things of that sort. So we don't have to take away elements of our accent and replace them. All we do is add on to what we're already doing, which is why a lot of people who are good with accents tend to come from like the California, Ontario type areas. If that makes any sense to people. But I wish I could just roll out the accents a little bit more. Mono of Michael Brooks impression compilations are my fave pick-me-up videos. Yeah, there's a character I want to see played that is like only Michael Brooks could play this character, but it's actually about him because, you know, he has all of his different outlandish characters and stuff like that. But I want to see a Michael Brooks left the left character. I don't know if anyone else on the Majority Report would be able to pull that off, but the Michael Brooks who has left the left and what his character would be. I would love to see that. Oh. Monop, thank you very much for your help. Really appreciated that. Ah, Royal Canadian Air Force. Yes, Karen Bass. That's kind of what I was thinking of. Yes, Looney Tunes 9000. Saturday Night Live, Canadian Saturday Night Live. It's not what we had. We had the Royal Canadian. The Royal Canadian Air Farce. Our humor is a little bit more British leaning than American leaning. But there are some definite. So it's also a lot more animated because a lot of British humor is very much in wordplay and sitting around and or you have your slapstick type Benny Hill stuff, but it's a lot of wordplay and stuff like that. And so Canadian humor, we have a lot of nuance and a lot of wordplay, but it's a different type. It's not a level. Like I don't find British humor funny at all. I find some American humor okay, but Canadian humor, probably because I just grew up on it. I absolutely love Canadian humor. It's the humor I espouse anyway. SCTV, Second City. Yep, Second City was improv. Mono, Pictionary. Yeah, it was like a Pictionary type game that they were doing. Oh, George McDuncan, thank you so much for the sticker, the $20. Really appreciate it. Oh, it's a super? Super. It's a super sticker? It's I'm still learning the lingo of this stuff, but thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Just getting caught up with chat. Oh, this hour has 22 minutes. That's it. So we had two of them. Yeah, this hour has 22 minutes is the big Rick Mercer thing, if you go back to that. Thank you, Sheldon, for reminding me of that. Yeah, so we had the Royal Canadian Air Force, and this hour has 22 minutes. And then there were other comedy programs. Well, we have the Just for Laughs festivals. That's Montreal based. And there's Just for Laughs gags. You can go online to find that. Yeah, Grand Theft Auto loves the British comedies. My favorite is Red Dwarf. I watch their comedies and I get why people would find them funny, but I just don't. And like I do find American humor funny if it's not a comedy. So American comedy movies, I often don't find funny at all. But there's a lot of American humor I do like. Um, like there's a lot of stand-up comedians and stuff that I like, or I have liked over the years. Uh, but for me, there has to be a bit of an impact. There has to be, I like political humor, humor that challenges the establishment. Like I loved Jon Stewart when I was younger. Um, some of the late night shows, their monologues I used to really like. So I do like some American humor, but American comedies, I can't think of one where I'm like, yeah, that was really good. Because I find them just so toilet humor blunt, I guess. They're too blunt. Anyway, I was going to go over some stuff, but I can save that for another day because we're getting kind of late and I tend to ramble. So, let's see. Do we have to? No, we have time for this. We have time for this. It's lighter. Let's go here. Saw Ravana talking about this and I just thought it was super interesting. Um, the other day, some guy asked me out at the gym and he started it by saying, "You're one of the only women at this gym who knows what she's doing." And it really made me sit and think about how often men utilize misogyny in their flirting. Men, don't do that. Don't go up to a woman and be like, "You're one of the good ones." That is a horrible way to flirt. Like, that's how it work. Like, there's all these men that try all these different pickup lines and stuff like that. And I'm like, when in the history of civilization has any of these things worked? Like, especially a lot of the dating sites that I used to be on, some of the opening lines the men would use with me. And it's like, first of all, I know they're not interested in me. They would just, it's a numbers game for a lot of them. They'll just blast it out to as many people as possible in hopes that one or two will actually respond in some manner. But it's like, come on. They're like, personally, I wouldn't be against being approached at the gym if it's done politely. But I'm also rarely ever approached. So to be approached anywhere would be a little bit weird for me. Also, I'd have to clue into it. My autism, I rarely ever pick up when people are flirting with me. Um, so people could be hitting on me all the freaking time and I have no clue. Um, but I'm not against a place like a gym and somebody maybe trying to connect there. But the best way to do that is to start with a smile. Just smile at the person. Let them be. Smile at them. Have eye contact, smile, maybe nod a little. And then build from there. And maybe from there, smile, say, "Hey, how you doing?" Or "It's nice to see you out again." Or, you know, at the gym, you can say, "Looking good," things like that. Like, there's been a lot of progress. Good for you. Like positive affirmations at the gym would be a good way to start. But again, only respond in kind. So if you smile at somebody, give them eye contact and maybe wave hi. If they look away, if they don't seem interested, don't push it. You can maybe try again in a few days, and if they're still like that, then don't don't push it. Because if all you're doing is a nice polite smile and a hi and they don't respond, that person could just be in a really bad mood that day too. You can try it again later on. After that, don't push it. Just don't. Because there are a lot of people, women that I hear from, who really dislike being approached at the gym. But I can understand it being a public place where people go and they at least have something in common, a common interest. I don't see it as a terrible place, but again, the misogyny can be an issue. Just the amount of times women are approached at the gym. Usually it's the women who are already in shape that are approached at the gym. I used to be very nervous about going to the gym, being very overweight at one point, and I wanted to go to the gym to try to get in shape, but I was self-conscious about it. And a guy I was on a date with at the time who was into the gym said, "You know what? You have nothing to worry about because the men at the gym are too involved with themselves to notice you. They're too busy looking in the mirror at themselves." And I'm like, okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. Um, so because yeah, let's go back to the main shot here. I understand the struggles of trying to like, where do you meet new people? And I see it, men attacked all the time, regardless of where they tried to approach a woman. Now, I can understand that to some extent because if you are just two random strangers and you've never seen each other before, and a man just approaches you, then he's doing it based solely on appearance, and that's a big turnoff for a lot of people. Like if the only thing is, oh, I think you're hot and I want to fuck you, that's not a good way to start and to, to start things off with, and it's a turnoff for a lot of people who aren't into hookups with random strangers on the streets. Not too many of those people, they do exist. That's not There's not enough of them to play the numbers game. But where do you go these days to meet people when a lot of people are, behind screens? Because you never see who somebody really is online. Like, you guys see a part of who I am. I am very authentic in what I show you guys. This is me. Um, the humor I have is real. The opinions I have is real. When I'm showing my vulnerability, when I'm talking about my past, all of that is real. You are still only seeing a part of me. You're not seeing all of me. Um, because this is only the part that I choose to put on there. And that's like what it is with everyone who goes online. And that's part of the problem with online dating profiles is you only put out the parts that you want other people to see. And that's also understandable. It's also a very hard way to get to know someone. There's not so much in the way of clubs anymore or stuff because everything is being moved online, but the best way to meet somebody for dating is to go to activities that you share, that it could be you get involved with politics, like campaigns. You find a different club, the theater, all this sort of stuff. Volunteer with different organizations, because when you're out at those things, then you at least have one thing in common. So you know that at least. And then you're in an environment where you can see this person potentially a few times and get to know them a little bit before a random like, hey, you're hot, let's go back to my place and fuck type thing. And then, you might find that this person that you thought was really attractive after you've, been in a group situation with them a few times, you might be like, probably not my type. Their meetups used to be a bigger popularity thing online, I think. Meetup.com, where people would just organize events and stuff as a way to get out. And it's becoming harder, especially with COVID. Like, people aren't getting out much anymore. So where do you go to meet people? A gym is one of the few places left. Bookstores, there's the old cliche of bookstores, but people don't regularly go to bookstores per se, because the best places to go are places that people will go regularly, so you can see them more than once, So it's good to get involved with different organizations. Like, I love improv, and the improv troupe I used to belong to, that I don't think is really, I think because of COVID, it kind of dissolved in my area. That was a fantastic place for a lot of people to meet people. I never ended up meeting a relationship there. I did meet a lot of really good friends. Made a lot of really good friends through that. And there are a lot of people within that group that actually did end up coupling off and getting married and all that sort of stuff. Because anyone who went to the improv, again, you had that thing in common. And since there were workshops regularly and performances regularly, then you get to be around people. And when you're around them more often, you tend to relax a little bit more and let a little bit more of your authentic self show through. And that's really what it is a lot of people are afraid to be authentic. Because that's the other thing I see online all the time is people being inauthentic about who they are. They'll exaggerate their careers, the money they make, their height, their weight, their appearance, their age. Whereas there's a lot of people out there that would appreciate who they are, no matter who they are. I've said this before online. I'm not keen on men over 6 feet. It's a thing. I one of my ex-boyfriends was over 6 feet, so it's not like I don't rule people out because of it, but it's something that I can actually be put off by somebody who's a lot bigger than me. And there's some psychology in there that's really complex, but a lot of women like men that they see as protectors. So the big men to protect them, so the bigger the better, tall, all that sort of stuff. I don't see men as protectors. Because over my life, the people who have been the worst to me are the men in my life. So I often see men that are close to me as potential threats. And so I like the idea that if this man in my life were to become a potential threat, that I could hold my own if I needed to. And so because of that, I don't see men as necessarily protectors. I'm not looking for them to protect me. I will protect myself. And I will often protect those around me. I'm also not afraid to do what's necessary. I'm not afraid of hurting other people. Let's leave that there. So it's because I know we're coming into the new year, and a lot of people, especially people who've been single for a while, will be like, yeah, it's on my what are those things? Those goals that you set up? Begins with an R? Resolution, there. People will put it like it's a resolution that they want to meet somebody in the new year. And the thing is that it's hard to set out to do that because I could join all the clubs, everything in my area, but I still might not find somebody who's compatible with me. The goal is to just be open to it when it happens. You know, when you meet someone that you're compatible with, don't always find reasons why it's not going to work out. And be a little bold. Give it a little try. I have a phrase. Live the anecdote. And people will say, well, what does that mean? And to me, it seems pretty clear. You know, live the story. Do that thing, because I've had so many people tell me after I was telling them about things that I did in my life, and they'll say, oh, well, I'll just live vicariously through you. Don't. Go out, live your own story, live your own life. Choose the experience. Like, there have been things that I've gotten into knowing it was probably going to turn out really bad. But the thing is that no matter what, I would have a story at the end of it. Because if it was really bad, you got a story. But if it turned out to be amazing, you got a story. And so I've always been more tempted to actually explore things and try new things because of that. And part of it too is my my ideation, the urge that I have to end things prematurely constantly in my head actually makes me more bold, because what do I have to lose? It's all about living in the moment. Because I have things that I was thinking about, you know, saying on here that these are the things that I have in my mind, like these are my resolutions for the next year. But there's realizing that a lot of these things that I want are out of my control to some extent. What I would really hope for this next year is between my art and my videos here, that I make enough to get by, that I'm not so strained and worried about finances, that I can pay my bills, have a little extra saved up, so the next time I have to take Frodo to the vet, I don't have to go online and ask people for help, so that I can give back to other people who, maybe need an extra $50 here or there. But a lot of that will be out of my control. So the best resolutions that you can make for yourselves are ones that don't rely on so many external factors. Things like when you see an opportunity, challenge yourself to take it. Be bold. Try that thing you have been thinking about and see if it works. Maybe you were thinking of, oh, I wanted to try painting, but I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And try it. Because in the end, then you'll know if it's something for you or not. If you see an opportunity for a friendship or opportunity for a relationship, don't necessarily shy away from it right away. Easy for me to tell other people, not like I would necessarily do that. I don't know. Because I look back at the last 2 years of my life and they stand in stark contrast to one another. Because 2 years ago, I was on Rebel HQ. I traveled on my own road trip to Boston to see the Majority Report live. Got to meet Sam. Really started to develop my artwork. Eventually even got Sam to come on to my show, which was amazing. Things were looking up. I found a publisher that I could submit my book to. Things were going so good. And I remember at the end of that year just being very hopeful about my following year and all these things. And then my last year happened. And it happened in I look at it like there hasn't been too much good, really, personally. At the end of January, there was somebody I was very interested in, and I asked them out on a date. Never heard back. And it's one of the things, like, you're not entitled to a response. You never are. You take the chance whenever you do that. But I was hoping that I was at that certain age that people would at least say, you seem like a nice person, but I'm not interested, so then at least I know that they got the message and everything. And again, that's one of the things that I say, it's easy to say. But then I've had random people online ask me out to a coffee or something, and I haven't gotten back to them. But to me, the key difference is the people asking me out are just a name on the screen. I don't know who they are. I don't know their real name. They're maybe a chatter or something of that sort. And to ask me out on a date when I know nothing about you, that's a lot of potential risk you're asking a person to take on, because you don't know I don't know who anyone is that I just see on the screen. Even if they're regular chatters, again, I don't know who you are. But with the person I was interested in, we had connections and things of that sort. We weren't strangers, but didn't work out. And then I was told my book was going to be published, and I was so excited about that, only for it to months drag out for them to then turn around and say, no, we're not going to publish your book, after telling me they were going to do it. My cat Tulip passed away. Been struggling to get to my art, been struggling to get this channel up and going. There's been nothing in the past year that I can say I've done that I'm really excited about, or was an adventure or anything of that sort. And so to have those 2 years back to back You can make all the resolutions you want, but a lot of them rely on certain amount of opportunity. If that opportunity doesn't show up, then you don't necessarily, you know, a lot of resolutions. I'm trying to figure out what I'm trying to say here. It's more about how you look at yourself and the world around you. The things that you can challenge yourself. You can be bold and try to accept part of yourselves, to try to express part of yourself, things that you have control over. Those are the things, like, yeah, sure, I would like a relationship, but it doesn't have to be on a timeline. I don't, it's like, it's not like this year I have to have a relationship, because the problem is a lot of people set themselves up for failure with certain resolutions. Because there's some resolutions that it doesn't matter how ready or prepared you are, if the opportunity never presents itself, then it's going to fail. So that's why it's good to maybe pick a resolution that's within you already. Write that book if you were interested, and hopefully someday you'll actually get around to publishing it. Like, that is actually something that is one of my resolutions, is to figure out how to publish my book, self-publish my book, not rely on a publisher. That is something that is far more in my control. Another resolution I have set up for myself is to do more artwork. That is also something I fully have in control. And it's something I love doing. Just doing the artwork itself is a reward. Whether or not I'm able to sell this artwork or it's portraits for other people and stuff, that's not something I have control over. But I do have control over making art that I appreciate. And so that's my resolution. Do more artwork and find a way to self-publish my book. And those are things I have control over. And then at the end, I'll have a story. I don't know. Is any of this making sense? My brain is really rambly right now, I wanted to have something like deep and meaningful to say. Like this year, it's not like it's been all bad. I did get my 2 new babies, Abernathy and Lanier, and they're still in their hell stage of baby cats. But I imagine once they get to be about 3 years old, they're going to be darlings. It's just a matter of putting up with them until then. My channel has grown a bit, which is good. So it hasn't been all losses. Standing up to TYT was something else that I did when they went on their anti-trans rhetoric tirades and stuff, the videos that I made about that, challenging that. So, yeah, we can always hope for better things, but really just the first thing you should focus on are the things that you actually have control over. And then once you kind of get a handle on that, then other opportunities will present itself. And then when those opportunities present itself, you're in a place where you can take a hold of them. Because sometimes when the opportunity presents itself, you might not be ready. So try to make yourself ready for any opportunity that presents itself. I don't know if any of this is making sense, if it's contradictory. My brain is in like 10 different places at the same time when I try to say this sort of stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, New Year's resolution for everyone. Just try to express more of who you are. Whether it's wearing funny makeup, bold makeup, fun outfits, sense of humor, playing instruments, challenging the establishment, standing up to that family member, saying hi to a neighbor, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this is if this is doing what I think it's supposed to be doing in my head. But that's why I always end my shows with, I say, wishing your tomorrow is better than your today. Got into that habit a long time ago when I was a lot younger, because it's like, oh, well, I hope you have a good birthday, or I hope you have a good Christmas day. And it's like, but you know what? I hope that it's better every day, because that works no matter what. Because if you've had a really great day, good. I hope your next day is better. If you've had a really shitty day, well, I hope your next day is better. So that's something that always works. And I hope everyone watching, I hope your next year is better than your last. And I hope that for the world in general. Because, yeah, this past year has felt like a lifetime when it comes to events around the world and everything that's happened and everything that's still happening. A lot of it out of our control. I don't know if any of this is working. Let's check the sandbox. Oh, thank you, Nadia, for the $10. Skeptic Haven had a show about how to accomplish New Year's resolutions. I didn't catch, but need to go back and watch. Your goals are great. I hope their tips can help both accomplish our goals. Thank you. Really appreciate the super chat. Yeah. One of the easiest resolutions I ever made for myself, and was actually super beneficial because it reduced so much stress in my life, was simply as soon as my car hit a quarter tank, put gas in it. Because my car would hit a quarter tank, and then I would think to myself, oh, I should go get gas. But then I would forget, ADHD. And then I would forget the next time I was out, and then completely zone out the next time I was out. And then all of a sudden I would see it at E, and then I'd start having like massive panic and anxiety attacks that I'm going to run out of gas while I'm on the road. And what happens if it's gunk? Because they say that you shouldn't let it run empty all the time because there could be gunk in there that's building it up, and then your car will run out of gas and all this sort of stuff. And I was super freaked out, and this was like a constant pattern for me. So the simplest thing was, do not wait till a quarter tank before I put gas in the tank. And that's a resolution I was able to stick to. And so much stress when I was driving was just gone. So you know what? A resolution like that can be super beneficial, even though it seems super simple. Mono, paha, that's so awful. Happened to Ravana, but I can't help but laugh at how ridiculous it is. Yeah. Yeah, like some guys in their pickup lines, like, again, I just wonder, like, where in the recesses of your mind do you think this is going to turn out in your favor? Like, how does this play out in your head? That, you go up to a woman and say, you actually know what you're doing, unlike all the other women here. And for her to be like, you noticed after all this time, you noticed that I'm more competent than all these other women that you've seen. And not only did you notice, but I'm so good that you felt the need to approach me and tell me that. This helps my esteem in ways that you could not possibly imagine. This is what I've been waiting for. The motivation I needed to keep on coming to the gym was for someone like you to approach me and tell me I know what I'm doing, unlike all these other women. Whew, this is going to be the start of a amazing relationship. Like, is that how it plays out in a man's head? I don't know. Like, there's a lot of guys, I don't know if they're hitting on me, but, a DM where they just say hi. What am I supposed to do with that? And again, it's not like I will respond to people who just send me DMs and stuff like that because again, if you're a stranger, like if you're a regular chatter and you do that, then I don't know how to respond to that because again, parasocial relationships, you know a lot more about me than I know about you, as in I don't know anything. And it's important to be aware of what you're asking the person because screen names don't tell me anything. And a lot of people can hide their personalities behind what they do online. And so, how do you navigate that? Um, that's why I say, like, when it comes to meeting people at the workplace and I work from home, that's why I could see myself potentially hooking up with their content creator because I could at least see their content, get to know who they are, and then there's a chance that maybe we start talking behind the scenes about work or we get onto each other's shows or something of that sort. And then we actually get to know each other a little bit. I could see that happening for a relationship. However, there aren't nearly as many lefty content creators as I would like. So, you know, we or even like there's been jokes about the Majority Report having its own dating app. And I'm like, you know what? That's actually a pretty good way to start because then you do have that thing in common. As in, your politics will at least semi align, as in, you like the Majority Report, you like what they're doing, you like their humor and stuff like that. And you have something you can then talk about. You can get into the chat with this person and talk about, oh, the show today, da, 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 and you start to get to know each other that way. So you have that thing to start with. And it's like, I actually think it would be a brilliant thing to do is to have like a Majority Report dating app because it would be like, I don't know, maybe on the Majority Report Discord they can start a channel for people interested in dating. That would be interesting. Oh, and I also hear for people who are watching this who are maybe at the gym and get approached too often, I heard a really good technique to get the guys off your case is to fart at the gym. hmm If he's crowding your space and you let one rip, even if it's the silent but deadly type, they'll leave you alone after that. So I've heard. Clarence the liar, responding to someone saying, honestly, I couldn't deal with the fetishization Asian women get, especially being trans mask. Just the stereotypical spicy Latina shit that I really got because of being white passing. Yeah, that's when you're approached because you you're just considered like hot to someone else, usually due to some sort of fetish and stuff. Like I had a I have a fairly substantial chest, and I have been approached based solely on that before. And yeah, it's I'm not interested in anyone who's just interested in me superficially. And I haven't been approached too much. I send off a vibe of I will kill you. So that tends to keep people away apparently. I don't know how I do this vibe, but apparently I am very standoffish. Um, but I've had friends, especially girlfriends, where we're just out in public and men are swarming around them. Like I have stories about how some men would approach my friends that would just blow your mind that this is a thing. Okay, I'll tell you one since we're doing it. Um, so I had moved into a house apartment. So my friend was the super of this. She lived in the top floor. There was a basement apartment. I was on the main floor. All up, separate entrances and all that sort of stuff. And quite often she would come down to my level and we'd watch movies. And so across the street, we had a convenience store and things of that sort. And it was a nice little corner to live on. So one time she's down at my place and we're watching a movie, and a man comes knocking on the door. And I answer, and it's like, yeah. And he has his kid with him. And she's maybe, 8 to 10 years old. Apparently, he had saw my friend at the convenience store and was able to get the convenience store clerk to say, oh yeah, she lives across the street there, which totally inappropriate, never do that. And so he's at the door and he's like, I know this seems weird that I'm just approaching you like this, so I brought my daughter with me to make it less weird so you know I'm safe. You brought your daughter to some random woman's house to ask her randomly on a date, even though she has no idea who the fuck you are, because you think that makes you look better? But the thing is that she attracted men like crazy, like all the time. And I have no idea how this happened. But men were just drawn to her in such a way that is so bizarre. And I've had a couple friends like that. And I've never understood it because, yeah, sure, they were cute and all that, but not to that level. I would never imagine it to that level. But it's just like, what in the world was this guy thinking? And luckily, I was there answering the door because I could give him the fuck the hell off look. And they tend to respond to that. I just couldn't believe that. Oh, I have Lanier on my lap right now. And he's just sitting, which is nice. I'll bring him up to the camera in a little bit. I'm just enjoying him sitting. Monope Clarence the Liar. It is really weird, I know, but it was hard to tell my age when I was a kid. But I obviously, but I was obviously a kid. Yeah, I have very inappropriate comments directed towards me in my from men who could have been like my great grandfathers. Really inappropriate. But I still gave off a certain vibe where a lot of people tended to keep their distance from me. I don't know. I still have that vibe apparently. I don't know how. It's not like it's intentional. Um, Karen Bass, being approached by men has never really been a problem for me, but that's not what I'm interested in. I've approached men. I've done the ice breaking. And you know how men will always say that they wish that they were the ones that they're approached? No, they don't. No, they don't. Out of my experience. Because when it comes to like dating and things like that, I'm usually the one that has to break the ice. I'm usually like at the beginning of the year, the person I was interested in, I made the initial move. And I usually make the initial moves with these sorts of things because when it comes to the person making the initial move towards me, virtually never happens. Like never, never. There'll be some guys that I kind of get talking with and stuff, and then we'll maybe go on some dates and stuff. But there's no real ask there. It just kind of happens. But for somebody I know in my life to actually approach me, never. Just trying to think. Yeah, never. Never. Yeah. Um, and then I don't get a lot of like random strangers approaching me either. But I have approached men, and I have stories about that I will save that for another live stream some of those interactions I've had by me approaching them. George McDuncan, too much of a germaphobe to enjoy the gym. Yeah, I haven't been to the gym because I used to regularly go to the gym, but it's pretty much since COVID. And so I'm getting to the point though where I can feel myself kind of putting on weight and stuff. I have to wait until I see my doctor next week to see if I can go back to the gym because I might have really bad osteoporosis that's messing up my back and stuff like that. And if that's not the case, or if it is the case, but I can still safely go to the gym, I desperately want to go back because I used to have like muscle and I want to get that back. I like having strong arms and legs. And I like the fact that I would go to the gym and quite often get on the equipment after the man and have to increase the weight. But I will mask up like crazy going to the gym because I know COVID's not over. And that's part of the reason why I've stayed away for so long. But it made me feel good going. I always felt better after a workout. And I used to do it quite regularly, especially when I had a regular job. I'd wake up at like 5:30 in the morning and get to the gym by 6 so that I could have a really good workout before work. But no guy has ever approached me at the gym. Like the closest was one was talking, I had an instructor way back when, and he was finishing up a session with him or something, and I yawned or something like that, and he made this weird comment about that, and it's like, why are you commenting on that? You know, like, would you have made that comment if I was a man? Oh, women tend to hit on me more, actually. They tend to be more forward. Board game cafes. I just thought of that. That's a good place to go if you want to meet people. Board game cafes, cafes in general, if you want to do regular things, groups will meet up there. Um, uh, MC, physical accessibility and transportation, huge barrier to regular in-person meetups, even if it's per panini, and now even more so for those of us at high risk. But I agree about common interest. Yeah, that is definitely an issue and a barrier to get around. Um, like in my area, people who use wheelchairs and stuff, you can call transit and they send you a vehicle, but it all depends and it can take forever and it depends on availability and yeah, and if you're worried about just health in general, it's hard. And then in those instances, it's probably look for communities. You have to start online, unfortunately, where a lot of people can hide who they are. Uh, but if you go to like a game online community or a certain Discord or something of that sort, then you can hopefully start with at least you have that interest to begin with and start more concrete dialogues online with that shared interest. George McDuncan, dating can be exhausting and too much work. I actually hate dates. I like to just go out and hang and chill with people, and eventually, if something blossoms from that, great. But just going out on a date to see if we're compatible sexually or romantically, which then excludes any other potential relationship that you could have with this person or could have made with this person, I don't like it. And I don't like how do you kiss on the first date and all this sort of stuff, like all the protocols and you know, what's considered acceptable and all that sort of bullshit I don't like. Um, And also, sometimes I find you can rule out people too quickly because, maybe you see a lot of things about them that you don't like right away, but those are all things that aren't deal breakers, and then you miss parts of them that, oh, actually, that would be worth those other things. Which unfortunately I think is the case for me. Like people have to get to know me and my charming personality and all that sort of stuff to be able to deal with a lot of the things that they might initially see. Okay. Carrie Goatee Woods, same started painting yesterday. Well, congratulations for starting to paint, you and the other person that I'm just skipping through chat so I don't see. Has the screen been flashing out for you guys at all? I've been noticing it in the window, where it just goes to black momentarily. Has that actually, is that something you guys are seeing? Let's see. BK Cat K, my middle-aged kitties are still stuck in their teen years, lol. They're either super sweet babies or terrorizing the house and each other, lol. The jealousy is real. Yeah. I hope they calm down. Yeah. There we go. People will want to see you, Linear. Oh, somebody, if you're in this chat or watching now, somebody asked in a previous chat, was this guy named after a character on Babylon 5? The answer is yes. Linear. See, Lanier would actually be my dream man if he was human and real. Human, whatever. Not even necessarily. If you know anything about Babylon 5, if you could be Lanier, okay, we're getting married. Even though it's like I never plan on marrying ever. Clarence the Liar, thank you so much for the 1999. Sandy, your eyeshadow and liner is always on point, and your sparkly circuit is amazing. Always be you, because there isn't any other way to be. Why, thank you so much. Really appreciate that. And really appreciate the super chat. Monope, someone in the MR chat asked me if I was Korean and told me he liked my profile pic, and that felt really weird. Yeah, that's, again, if we're just based on chat, like it would be one thing if there's like a dating app or a Discord channel where you can actually have conversations, but I don't know how anyone can do it just based on a profile pic and a screen name. Like that makes no sense to me. Like I don't know if anyone else remembers the time that somebody had literally called into the Majority Report to complain, I guess he wasn't getting, I think it was Autumn Leaves, wasn't getting her attention. Because it sounded like he wanted to go on a date with her or something, but was upset that she was like snubbing him. And he had actually called into the Majority Report for this. And like the first thing that pissed me off was referring to the girl who's about 30 years old. No, woman. She'd be a woman. That's one of my pet peeves, when people refer to adult women as girls. I don't know if anyone else remembers that. I think it was Autumn Leaves, who's sometimes in the chat, who somebody had called into the Majority about. That was weird. But yeah, I do get random people just saying hi, but nothing like I've never gotten a message where I'm like, oh, I can send that to Ask Aubrey. Nothing weird. Usually just a hi here or there from completely random strangers, which again is like, no, you don't know me. You don't me. Even a lot of you guys don't actually know me, even though I'm very open and authentic in who I am. But there's still a lot about me that I don't put on here. BKK, I love being single. I was in constant long-term relationships since I was 15 years old and didn't realize how amazing being single could be. May never date seriously again. LOL. I'm kind of at the opposite end of that scale. I've had 3 relationships in my entire life. Combined, they don't even reach 3 years. I'd like to give it a try. A long-term relationship of some sort. I'd, I'd like to see how that works. Like I do enjoy singlehood, and I'd rather that than a toxic relationship. But I love being independent and having the freedom to be my own person and stuff of that sort. So, like, I'm also polyamorous. So it's not like, and I'm not looking, part of the problem is I'm not looking for what a lot of other people are looking for when it comes to long-term relationships. I'm not looking into moving in with anyone. Like, the most they could do is move into the apartment next to me. I don't want to share a home with somebody. I'm not looking to have children or anything of that sort. So it gets a little complicated then. I'm also not looking to be a parent to somebody else's children. If they have children, that's fine. I'm hoping that in getting to the age that most people I'd be interested in dating, if they have kids, those kids are old enough to be independent. Oh, thank you so much, the Silver Samaritan, for the $10 for Frodo. Happy New Year, Sandy. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And Frodo is actually eating. Not as much, again, because I've been trying to mix up his food. I have to try a different brand of kidney specific cat food to see if that works. So the Silver Samaritan had also said that they can't stay long, but wanted to say hi and Happy New Year. Also, that guy sounded really weird. Yeah, really. Just go knock on a stranger's door, not even knowing if that person is in a relationship, who might answer that door with your little child with you. Wow. BKK. Farting is brilliant, and I can't believe I've never thought about that and laughed my ass off. I got that from, I think it was an Ask Aubrey tweet or something. But it makes sense because, you know, a lot of these men have these idealized versions of what women are and stuff, and women don't actually pass gas and all that sort of stuff. But if you let one rip near them, especially if they're just trying to approach you, they'll turn off. They'll go the other way. Or they'll be weirdly into it. I think it'll be more the first than the last one. Nadia Chambers, people used to say I have an aura of somewhere between intimidating and something terrible happened here. I'm not sure how much of that is still the case or what. I've always had a vibe of fuck around and find out, I think would be the best way to explain it. And I have, like, back when I was doing online dating and being on dates with guys, um, a lot of them, once we met, would say things like, "Oh yeah, if I saw you in a bar or something like that, I would never approach you because you come across as confident." As in, I wouldn't be afraid to shoot them down or to reject them, which is true. But also, like, a lot of the boyfriends that would mistreat my girlfriends and stuff when I was younger were scared of me because, again, I can come across as very intimidating. And even though I didn't know I was non-binary back then, I think everyone knew I wouldn't hit like a girl. And I've carried that vibe with me. of like, yeah, sure, worst case scenario, I get attacked. I'm not generally, though, a target because I give off the vibe like, yeah, sure, if they're a man and bigger than me, they're going to take me, but which body part are they willing to lose in the meantime? Because unless I'm knocked out in the first blow, I'm taking an ear, a nose, a tongue, a leg, something with me. And it's probably true. So, um, but I do come across as also very dominant, which is very intimidating to a lot of men. Atticus among us, osteoporosis, me too. Yeah. No, I found out I had a compression fracture in my back earlier this year, which was causing my back pain, and went in for bone density scanning. I'm getting the results next week. So, hopefully it's not too bad, especially at my age, to get it so young. "2023 was dog shit," says Many Doctors. Yeah. Like for me, it was a meh year, but globally, oh my God, horrible. The Silver Samaritan, can you recommend a gym that's affordable to someone on ODSP? I used to go daily before the pandemic, but had to cancel my membership when the gym opened again. Now just feeding myself is too much. I go to the super cheap gym. I think they go by Crunch right now. I don't know where they're available though. And there's multiple locations, so. But it's like the cheapest of cheap gyms. And there's like 3 locations around me too. Yeah. Nobody has said anything if the black screen has been happening to you, because I just saw it in the side of my eye again. Um, so hopefully you're not seeing it. Bob Cormorty, Autumn is a man. Was it Autumn? It was somebody that this guy was like trying to hit on and felt so snubbed by. You'd have to. I'm trying to think of who else. It was a moderator, that I know. It was definitely a Majority Report moderator that this guy was on about. That's interesting. Everyone pointing out that Autumn is a man. Well, that's the other thing about screen names and stuff. You can never tell. Because I will admit, there's been people in my chat who have revealed their genders, and I'm like, oh, because for the most part, I see everyone as being genderless in my chat. Unless they've specifically said something. Because there's just been way too many times where it's like, oh, I thought, okay. But the reality is, it doesn't matter. BKK, Sandy, you do you, no shame in a healthy relationship. I'm just not healthy enough for someone else, and I currently have no desire to be so. Yeah, no, if you want to be single, be single. It is. There are good things about being single. I do like being single to some extent. But I'd also like to try a relationship. Clarence the Liar. So when I fart, I am truly affirming my gender. Yes. Uh, oh, Happy New Year's, meaty doctors. You're in a few time zones ahead of us. Oh, glad you're celebrating it partly on here. Yeah, what's the future like? Hmm? Mindy Doctors, what's the future like? How is 2024 so far? Any better? Yasuk, I just stopped in to say what's up. I hope everyone has a great end to the year. Cheers to 2024, and always remember that you deserve love, peace, and success. I'm rooting for you. All the same to you, Yasuk. Thank you for coming out. Oh, I think I'm actually like at the end of the chat now. Bob Camorty, that's why I don't use gendered greetings. Yeah, I tend not to either. One thing, if the majority report would ever listen to me and get this trend going, because Sam will sometimes say, ladies and gentlemen, but there's no real gender non-binary term for ladies and gentlemen. I want to start one. I thought of this, and I'm like, this needs to catch on to people. Mixeur. So think like French monsieur, but with the mix in it, because mix tends to be a very popular NB term for like Miss, Mr. Mix type thing. So I thought mixeur. That sounds really cool. I like it, and I need Sam to start using it because they're on a much larger platform than me. So then maybe it would start catching on. Ladies, gentlemen, mix yours. Ottawa Anon 1001. Hey folks, covers everyone. Yep. Well, I always say, welcome to Left of the Box. Bonjour, bienvenue. I'm Sandy. So the bonjour and bienvenue part, that's hello, welcome. Well, bonjour is more like good day, welcome. Bienvenue is welcome. So yeah, there's. Okay. Want to make sure I didn't miss any of the. No, I got all the super chat stuff. Thank you again, everyone, for super chatting. Don't want to stay too much longer because I am heading out in just a little bit. Should probably eat something before I go, even though I know they'll probably have lots of food there because one of them really likes to experiment with cooking and food and is generally really good. But I should probably have a little something more substantial before I go. Like I would love to say one of my resolutions is to actually get onto the majority report at some point next year, but that's not something I have any control over. Or to start the majority report Canadian edition. Like again, that's something I have very little control over because there's so many external factors that play into it. So it's more like if I ever have the opportunity to go on to the majority report or to start majority report Canada, grab that opportunity. So it's a matter of if that opportunity ever presents itself to me, I will seize it. And that's my resolution. That I will seize those opportunities. Because some people could be very scared, you know, it's like they finally get it and it's like, oh no. Because to be honest, I was quite scared about actually getting the job at Rebel HQ. That was a lot of pressure and a lot of nerves, and I was terribly worried about how I would do and how it'd come across and if people would like me, and a lot of anxiety going into that job. So, you know, I think there are a lot of people who might like have gotten to the door and be like, okay, I'm here. But then as soon as the door opens, they like be like, no, I can't, and like go away. So it takes something. So it's a matter of like, trying to stay calm and stuff and don't fan out. There's no term for fangirl or fanboy that's for an NB, so I don't know what that term would be. Mm. I'm sorry to hear that, Soul Life. Okay, I don't think there is anything else here. Let's, for the people who showed up a bit later, see what this looks like with the hood on. There we go. What do you guys think? Hmm? He's been silently on my lap, which is a nice change. Here you go. They're going to want to see your cute little face. Yes, I am the priestess of kitties, only I wouldn't be a priestess, I don't think. And he has his little white goatee. It's like a shark fin goatee. There we go. So yeah, I don't think I have anything else. Let's see, I'll have another regular live stream on Wednesday. Regular news stuff. If there's a lot of news between now and then, I might do one Tuesday. We'll see. And that will be at 6 p.m. And then, yeah, because I'm trying to start the regular Wednesday at 6 and Friday at 6 and Sunday at 6. Only today was early because I have to go out later on. And yeah, there's some news video essays I want to get done soon. Well, I'm working some art, so maybe the second week of January, I will be like going no contact online so I can focus on artwork. We'll see. And I don't know if anybody else is live right now. Let's just do a quick little pop over to YouTube. Yeah, Olay is live right now, so people can go check her out. It's a premiere, okay. Vosh is still alive. He's been streaming for the past 15 hours now. Global News is live for the New Year's countdown. Oh, and I want to show you a fun little picture. Before I go. Something I found because I watch random old episodes of The Majority Report. He was wearing this shirt. This was for the State of the Union speak, I think back in 2016. He was wearing this. And Judy Gold was on the panel with him and Michael Brooks. And this shirt had been sent to him by a fan. And as I say, you know, you're supposed to dress the role that you want. I think he needs to bring that back into rotation. Okay. Oh, and the light died, so that's a good indication I should get off of here. Okay, let's do this right. Oh, for Ole's channel, let me just I think I can add links in here.
There were real races.
Should be able to add links into my own chat. So the link I put into the chat right now is the premiere video that she's posting right now. So then that will take you to her channel. Okay. Just double, triple checking. Anyway. Yeah. Been a long chat. So. Salut, à la prochaine. Thank you for watching and stay tuned. I'm Sandy, wishing your next year is better than your last. And yeah, Happy New Year, everyone.